Good afternoon all. I've got a problem with my Ryobi chop saw. I was going to say brand new Ryobi chop saw, but it's not really brand new because I bought it when a store was closing, half price, and it's kind of sat in its box for I think over a year, and now it's playing up. So the problem is that sometimes when you pull the trigger, it just doesn't do anything. It doesn't fire up at all. Of course, now that I've fiddled with it a little bit, it is actually working. But while it's running, it's very lackluster. It just feels like it's not running at full tilt. So anyway, I've removed the screws, so let's have a look at the motor. And it's one of these ones that has fortunately a nice exposed set of brushes, and I just feel that the problem is with the brushes, and I'm fairly certain it is. So with it locked in its down position, I'll just run it up briefly, and I don't know whether you can see, but there are quite a lot of sparks coming out of this brush, the brush on the negative side. Incidentally, that brush looks kind of different to the positive brush. The positive brush is a more copper coloured brush. Of course, this isn't going to focus now, is it? The negative brush looks different. Is that a thing? I don't know a lot about motors. The other thing is that it's the commutator, or the copper areas here, it's very dirty up at this end, and that's where it's been sparking. So I think the sparks have made it dirty. So I'm going to try and clean that. I was thinking cotton bud, but then I thought, no, you need something with a bit more grunt, so I'm going to use this wooden lolly stick and some isopropyl alcohol. I don't actually have any, but this cleaning fluid will do. It's probably not 100% alcohol, that's for certain. But anyway, it's all going to evaporate off, and all I want to do is get that black off. And then I did wonder whether I might put a little drop of machine oil on the brush slide, so that it slides in and out better, because I'm pretty certain that's what it is. It's just this brush. I mean, maybe it hasn't shaped itself to the commutator. Is it the commutator? I think it is. Properly yet. There's some interesting things on this actually. You've got capacitors, one here running from the negative brush to ground. It's attached to the metal of the motor. There's another capacitor inside this bit of heat shrink. I presume it's the same. But what's more interesting is what's underneath. Let me just see if I can pull this pin out and raise the thing up. Under here, we've got these two massive black discs, and it would appear that the negative brush goes through these. So I assume these are NTCs, negative temperature coefficient. Well, they would be inrush current limiters, wouldn't they? And when you've run this thing for a while, they feel warm. So I think what's happening is current flows through these. They get warm. They're NTC, so that their resistance drops. So the idea is that a low current flows initially, and then when these warm up, the current reaches full strength when these drop to a fraction of an ohm. So yes, I think that's what these are. I don't know whether they're in series or parallel. Possibly parallel, but I can't quite see the connections, but I found that quite interesting. The motor is not applied directly across the battery. We've got NTCs in the circuit. So I'm going to break this stick, so I've got a nice rough end, and then it's a bit too rough really. Try and clean up some of the black markings on these copper commutators. I think it's a commutator. I think that needs to be a little bit neater than that. I'm outside, so it's going to have to be secateurs. Oh yeah, that's quite a neat cut. Okay, that'll do. So let's get cleaning. I'll dip the lolly stick in my ISO, which isn't really ISO, and just see if that cleans this up. Not very well. Oh yeah, it kind of does, but this is really blackened badly. How am I going to get that off? See if I can get a different view of it. Well, one thing's for sure, there's a lot of black stuff ending up on the stick, so I guess that's working. I'll just keep going at it for a while. Yeah, whatever this black stuff is, it's very solid. It soaks up the ISO quite well, but it's taking a lot of scraping to get it off. Let's just blip the motor, move it to a new position. I think what I'll do now is just drop some machine oil. Now this is called appliance oil and it's brawn, so you can probably guess that this came with a shaver, but it's very light machine oil, so I'll just drop a touch on the slide there. Actually, I might as well put it on both, just to assist the brush being able to slide in and out of its little housing there. So it's got a little dropper nozzle. See if I can do this without making a total mess. I'm not sure that went in onto the brush. That probably did. And on the other side, can't see what I'm doing very well. I need my glasses. Maybe that's a better view. Actually, let's try the other end of the lolly stick, the sort of rounded end. That may give me more ability. See there, it won't run. And if I just, I don't know whether you can see this, just knock the brush spring, then of course I can get it to run, but it can get itself into a position where the brush is not making any contact with these copper pads. Maybe I should run it with the stick on it. Let's try that. And there it's packed up again. It's really irritating. But I've got to be careful because I don't want to damage anything with my stick. Well, I think that's about all I can do. It is firing up now. I've put quite a lot of oil on this negative brush. It just felt very, I don't know, frictiony. Wasn't sliding very well. It's sliding better now. The positive one's fine. It's got a nice springy sound to it, but the negative one just wasn't sliding. Anyway, I've doused it in oil. That'll all burn off eventually, of course. And we'll see how it goes. But for the moment, cheerio.